Yo, what is going on? I hope everyone's having a great day, great work week. Everyone's doing great. Want to go over some Eagles press conferences. Like I said, there's really not a lot of stuff going on, as I've been saying, the whole entire week. We're kind of waiting on training camp right now. I'm sorry that this video came out late. I had a lot of other stuff to do since I have more free time now since the news isn't really flowing with the Eagles so much. So we'll go over take some nuggets out of these press conferences, which I think there's some valued information here between all these press conferences. I want to go over the Daryl Morey press conference for the 76ers at the end of this video as well, and kind of get into a little bit of that from stuff that was said and interesting things there going forward. So other than that, let's get straight into all of the Philly news.
Because I've seen enough horror movies to know any weirdo wearing a mask is never friendly.
Yo, what is going on, guys? Hope having a great day. So, yes, press conferences for the Philadelphia Eagles. Yes, you're going to hear from players that, the same question over and over again. And I think let's get this question out of the way before anything. For every press conference that was asked, like the same question today was, how did you feel about the Jalen Hurts contract extension? And, you know, is there going to be a drop-off with Jalen Hurts? Is Jalen Hurts the same player? Because there's a reputation in the league for not just quarterbacks getting paid, but when guys usually get paid, they kind of have a drop-off in productivity. And, you know, that's been the case for some players, over the years. But obviously all these players have said, no, he's not the same player. He's in at 5 a.m, watching film, watching this, working on this, in the weight room, doing this thing. So I'm going to skip on all that because we know how these players feel about the extension. And obviously these players are like, it's a stupid question. Like, is there a drop-off in Jalen Hurts? Is he not? It's just to a point where it's getting ridiculous. So let's skip on that so we don't have to say that every single press conference. But Jason Kelce's press conference I thought was pretty cool. Now, I figured if the Eagles won the Super Bowl last year, Jason Kelce would retire, okay? I know 100% that Kelce would have retired would have finally retired if winning a Super Bowl. Came back this year. Now, talked about Isaac Seumalo, talked about how big of a loss that was, that you can't replace Isaac Seumalo, but he is very excited to see what other players could take his spot. Now, interesting enough, last year, if you guys didn't know, before Jason Kelce had the orthoscopic surgery in his elbow to take off the whole entire offseason and really start in that first game, Cam Jurgens was supposed to play right guard. He was supposed to cross-train at right guard a lot. So since Kelce was out, they had to force Cam to play center, which is perfectly fine because this is supposed to be our center for the future. Now, you've already redshirted Cam Jurgens his second year, and now you only have 2 years to see what he could do. Or at least, no, not his second year. This will be his second year redshirted, which he's not going to be starting center this year. Kelce is back, and Kelce did release some information that Cam Jurgens is going to be competing for that right guard spot. He didn't mention tylersteen's name, but we know that he's going to be competing as well. Nick Sirianni wouldn't tell us that Cam was in the mix for the competition for right guard, but said that there was going to be competition at that position, okay? Cam Jurgens will compete, and Kelce said this. He will compete for right guard as well as tylersteen. Now, if he said a lot of great things about Jurgens, blue-collar player. He's blue-collar, quick explosiveness, and for an undersized center. You put Kelce and Jurgens next to each other, they're almost the same. Guys, remember, when they drafted Cam Jurgens in the second round, this was a collaborative effort between Howie Roseman and Jason Kelce. Kelce was actually working on the offensive line or working on finding his replacement for the future for the Philadelphia Eagles, which I thought that was pretty cool. I thought that was awesome. They kind of they gave Kelce that much respect and, let him kind of get into the draft stuff going on, which is awesome. Because I could definitely see Jason Kelce as an offensive line coach in the future and all that great stuff. But, quick explosiveness, said a lot of great things about Cam Jurgens and what he could do on the field. And if he was able to play center last year, he would have done a fantastic job. Kelce thinks that he's going to be a Pro Bowl player, one of the best to play for the Philadelphia Eagles. High regard for Cam Jurgens, and I don't think he's just saying that. I think he's being real honest about it, and I think we should be very excited too. But if you redshirt him another year and tylersteen beats Cam Jurgens out of that right guard job, then, Cam Jurgens will be in red zone. He'll be an extra lineman here and there and be used for certain things. But, you want the guy to play. He's a second-round pick. Second-round pick should be on the field. But they're bringing in so much competition, and obviously they're bringing in some good linemen right now. And obviously Trevor Reed from Louisville, undrafted. It's another guy in 360, over 360 pass block attempts. He's only given up like 3 sacks. You know what I mean? So a guy from Louisville undrafted seems pretty promising as a depth piece. Jack Driscoll is obviously better of a right guard than a right tackle. Did not play good in Lane Johnson's absence for a couple weeks before the playoffs. And Kelce's coming back for one more year. So there will be competition at right guard, and that was a little bit of good news that we heard, which I thought it was great. Now, James Bradberry was an interesting one, too, because, Bradberry didn't want to go anywhere else. He didn't know what was going to happen in free agency this past year. I think the biggest takeaways from Bradberry coming back and why he did was, one, Sean Desai, a smart defensive coordinator that he thinks is going to he mentioned similar scheme of Gannon, but there are some differences in which is good. I'm glad we're kind of hearing this a little bit. Use their corners a little bit differently, scheme wise. Bradberry talked, and somebody from the beat writers actually asked Bradberry about the postcard, the Juju Smith-Schuster postcard, Valentine's Day postcard that he put out. It's been the talk of the whole offseason. And guess what? Juju Smith-Schuster's not on KC anymore. He is with the Patriots. The Eagles play the Patriots week 1 of the NFL season at Gillette Stadium. Bradberry said he was pissed off. But at the end of the day, we have to line up on the field, and that's where it's going to show who's going to win the matchup. The beat writer even talked about the 49ers, and all the talk seems like we can't. I mean, obviously we know the 49ers players, they can't shut up about anything anymore. We know how bad those guys are. They haven't gotten over it in weeks, even after the Super Bowl and even into the offseason. They're still talking about us. And Bradberry just pretty much said, I was pissed off about the postcard. We're going to see. I can't wait for that matchup, what they do. They put Bradberry on Juju Smith-Schuster. I just can't wait because that team is not going to bail Juju out. That ball might not even come to him at all. Between Mac Jones, what's going on with that offense? Is he the quarterback of the future? I mean, there was rumors he was on the trade block early this offseason. I mean, there was a lot going on. And I have the Eagles coming out with a win there. So I think with Bradberry, he's just waiting for the moment, and he's going to thrive on it. And I'm glad he's back. I'm glad they didn't pay Chauncey. I'm glad they used that money to bring back Bradberry because either one or the other was going to happen, which I thought was really cool. So, so obviously there's going to be a little bit of changes in this defense, but, he was in contact with Slade the whole offseason when all the stuff was going down with him, and he was going to leave here. Then he came back, and and that was a big part as well when it comes to this defense. So the Bradberry thing was great. I can't wait for the Juju Smith-Schuster Bradberry matchup. And he said even, was this year the best year of his career? Last year in 22, he said no. He thought his Carolina year, the year in Carolina, he thought was a pretty good year. I think the last year in Carolina, he thought he had a pretty good year. And this year was actually close to that. And, I have to give him respect, too, because he's not being cocky about the year that he had because he played pretty damn good. I mean, yards allowed, he was a top 5 corner with Slay. Two of the Eagles' outside corners were top 5 in that category and played fantastic. So, Bradberry's here for another 3 years, you know what I mean, which is great, and I can't wait to see him play more. So, very excited about that. A.J. Brown, interesting enough. There wasn't really much there, but obviously the Hurts contract, all that, obviously is, it's Hurts' best friend at the end of the day. But A.J. Brown is going to work on a lot more with himself to be more of a complete wide receiver. As much of a monster year he had, even breaking Mike Quick's receiving yard record, it was crazy. And to make Jalen Hurts look good and. Not in a bad way, but obviously the receiver makes the quarterback good, but the quarterback has to throw the ball well too. So it's hand in hand when it comes to quarterback wide receiver play, and to be that big target for Jalen Hurts, he was very proud of it. To see his best friend get that big contract and able to be on the same team with him was pretty cool. And I think what he strived on too was this offense really stayed intact this offseason. This offense has been in communication between the coordinator to these players really keeping in touch this whole offseason, staying close. And we didn't lose many pieces besides Samalo and Miles Sanders. The Eagles didn't lose much pieces offensively. So it's just more of a building block for this receiving core and this offense in general. He says that he's working on some of his weaknesses. He won't tell what it is. But I think the one thing that really pissed me off at A.J. Brown last year, which really wasn't a big deal, was obviously the fumbles. He had, couple consecutive games he was fumbling the ball, and we were kind of now a little, we were getting worried he was gonna fumble the ball a lot, and he had to hang on to the ball. So, AJ Brown's a beast, and I think at the end of the day, Devontae Smith is gonna have more yards. I think AJ Brown's gonna have more catches, but I think Devontae Smith is gonna have a monster year. I think Devontae Smith is gonna go off this year, and that's what I think going forward. So nothing much with the A.J. Brown stuff, but obviously working on himself to be a more complete wide receiver and stuff, and that's pretty much it. And then finally, the Dallas Goddard press conference, talked about, obviously, Dan Arnold, the new tight end, coming in, getting a veteran in the building, which is great for the room, and a lot of high praise for Grant Calcaterra and Jack Stahl when they were gone, when he was injured. Even said, even during those times when he was injured, he would really help them on the routes. He would teach them a lot of things and concepts and stuff. So I like how Goddard's really been helping the room really behind him, even when he's out or when he's on the field, regardless of it. Goddard, there's going to be times where they're not going to use Goddard in certain plays. He wants to be a Pro Bowler. He wants to reach 1,000 yards, but it's not the most important thing to him. I don't know what's going on with Dallas Goddard, but he looked like he put on some muscle, man. I don't know if it's just me or he just gained another 10 pounds of muscle or something, because he looks more jacked than I've ever seen him. So, I think the problem that a lot of fans have with Goddard is these little splurts of injuries that he does get. He's got some easy drops. We've seen him drop some balls, some easy ones. But other than that, he's been a great player for us, and hopefully stays healthy the full year this year, because really missing him. You lost, obviously losing Chauncey, losing Maddox, then losing Goddard. And I think losing Goddard was actually losing Goddard was a blessing. Sometimes injuries get a blessing in disguise for a team, because I thought when Goddard got injured, they had to use Calcaterra and Jack Stahl in double tight end sets, but they started using Devontae Smith vertically. They started attacking more with Devontae Smith and with A.J. Brown. Remember early in the season, they had just used Devontae Smith on like slants, comebacks, out route, the short stuff, screen passes. Then they started to really attack him against defenses and really lifted him up a lot, and I was really happy for that. So that could have been a blessing in disguise for Goddard being out for a bit too, which I thought was pretty good. Obviously, you don't want to wish injury upon anybody. Sometimes injuries, the Eagles can be more creative with their offense, and I thought they did. And I thought they did the right thing between all these players. So that was pretty cool. But that was really it with the Eagles press conferences. Really did like, the pieces, obviously all the pieces of information that we did get, and the competition at right guard, and, Bradberry, what he had to say about the matchup with Juju and a lot of other stuff going on. So this team is really focused. From what every player has said, like, this team they're striving, they're taking it one game at a time, and they're striving to get back into the big game, which there could be a big rematch again against KC this year, so you never know. A really weak NFC at the end of the day, so we have to watch out for that. Lastly on the list, we had Daryl Morey, the GM for the 76ers, had his press conference. A lot of questions were asked. I'm going to get to the juicy stuff in a little bit, but obviously obviously James Harden is I guess a free agent as of right now, I think. So what it looks like is Daryl Morey did say they're going to try to bring him back. That's the main plan right now, is bringing him back. The Doc Rivers firing, there's a lot of different things that go into it. It seems like Joel Embiid, like Doc Rivers, Harden didn't like him at all. It seems like your two top players were a total split on Doc Rivers, which was a major concern. Who was the main focus on firing Doc Rivers? Who made that call? It was Daryl Morey. He went up to management and ownership, and he said, "Let's fire him," and they granted it. Head coaching search. Now, they're not in any rush right now to get a head coach, which I'm perfectly fine with. They shouldn't rush this whatsoever. You got to find a guy that fits. They got to find a guy that obviously his top players are going to like or the rest of the whole roster is going to like, especially your top players, your MVP, and James Harden if he's still going to be here. And what it looks like he might be here. I don't know. We could be surprised at the end of the day. Daryl Morey said he had a lot of strong conversations after the game was over a couple days. He talked to all of the players personally. And he said nothing bad has happened. Everything's been calm. Everything's been cool, collective with everything. Now, this is the stuff that really scratches my head a little bit. Now, Howard Eskin had a question here, which was like, yes, Howard, thank God you asked this. I mean, some of these guys come out. This is like the beat writers are like the fans of the beat writers are like the fans of the NBA, or any sport really, or for the fans really. So Howard Eskin, and I'm going to just kind of like say it in my own way. Like Howard Eskin really questioned Daryl Morey on, well, if the head coach gets fired, what makes you think that you're able to keep your job, or what's making everybody think that you're the right GM for this job, for this franchise, if you literally have been stuck in the playoffs in the same round the last 2 years? Now, he didn't say that exactly, but he pretty much meant that. Like, what makes if Doc Rivers is going to get fired and we're going to make excuses for Joel Embiid, we're going to make excuses for James Harden for these games, especially your top two players were they just disappeared. I mean, they had excuses after the game so much, pointing fingers, blaming the rest of the roster for not helping them. Okay, an MVP complaining, a washed player in James Harden that shouldn't have even been here in the first place. Okay. And what makes you think that as a GM, you're the right guy for this job if you can't even get past the second round and you're literally stuck the last 2 years, stuck in the same position you were last year, you lost the same way as you did. You know what I mean? There's no excuse to be up 3-2 and you can't win that last game. There's no excuse for it, like at all. There's none whatsoever. I had a feeling they were going to lose anyway. But, and I really all he had to say to that question was, I think for myself, I put a pretty good roster together in layman's terms. Like he put a good roster together, and they have a chance to win it all. That this is a championship team still intact as of right now. So that's what he had to say. Howard Eskin kind of put him on the spot, which I really did like. Like, what makes your job so secure? Like what makes you like, I can choose who gets fired? Like, what makes you the most reliable guy to stay in Philadelphia as a GM? You're putting this roster together. You're drafting guys. You don't have a building foundation. Like, the window is closing. It is. You might have one more year and look, I'm not into keeping Tobias Harris. I'm not into keeping James Harden. Joel is like a what if situation for me because he is a great player and it's really, do you trade Joel Embiid now while he still has value or before he starts to deteriorate as a player because he's going to hit 30 years old soon. He's going to get past that mark where he's going to deteriorate because of age and he's going to have no worth in the future, and you can't garnish a lot of draft picks and players with it. So they have a really tough decision to make with him going forward. From what it looks like from Daryl Morey, how he talked about Joel Embiid, it just looks like as of right now he's going to be on this roster. So it doesn't seem like there's a trade coming. It doesn't. Maybe it changes down the road. Maybe they make some harsh decisions and want to just blow it all up, which I wish they did, to be honest, because Tobias Harris is getting paid way too much money. Sorry, but he's not worth it. I've talked about Jimmy Butler and what he meant to this team, and that was the biggest mistake they made. So, I liked how Daryl Morey was kind of put on the spot. Well, he should be. He's had control of this roster the past 2 years and has done really nothing. significantly. And I don't know why these players are acting like crybabies after every single game. They always got an excuse. They're always pointing fingers. It's funny because Jokic, I'm sorry. That guy is mentally more. That guy has better mentals than Joel Embiid, and that's just the truth. I think Jokic. I can never say his name right. I think he's just. I think he's more mature, and I think he's mentally stable, and he's more. He takes more accountability than Joel Embiid. I think that's the truth. People might hate me to say that, but that's just the truth, man. MVP's MVP at the end of the day, but your MVP did nothing in that last game. I mean, your bench is scoring more points than your two starters, than your top two players. And then the excuses and the finger pointing and the laughing at the press conference. It was just left a bad when I see that, I'm thinking about Ben Simmons. I'm thinking about like the Eagles with Carson. Like I'm thinking about so much like players that act like that or say the same thing. Don't make a big deal out of anything. Like don't take it to heart. Really pisses me off in a lot of directions. So that's really it. So it looks like Harden's staying, or they're going to try to bring him back. Since Doc is gone, he might actually be back, because I feel like most of this is because of James Harden, because they're like on their hands and knees begging James Harden not to leave. I feel like that's a part of it. So I don't know. There's going to be a lot more time left to finals. Obviously we still have the playoffs going on, and once these GMs can't talk to the players' agents yet. It would be illegal tampering if they did. So we have to wait a little bit longer. So that is the news for the 76ers as of right now. That was the press conference from Daryl Morey, and the live chat for that live stream was horrific. People were just like, fire this man. And I totally agree. I would get a new GM immediately. I'm down to blow it up. If they feel like they have one more year, they need to make a crazy move. Like they got to do something. They got to do something. And make sure whatever head coach you bring in that everyone likes him, because, we have to, serve, these players. These players are getting paid millions of dollars, and they're like, you get like, how do you, look, even if Doc Rivers isn't a great coach, like, was he really hated that much behind the scenes? Like, I don't know. Now, maybe you just don't like a certain coach. I get it, but other than that, that's pretty much it. We got some news. We had news on the Philadelphia Eagles, the press conferences. We did the Daryl Morey press conference for the 76ers. And that's it. So you guys have lasted this long in this video, have reached the end. I do appreciate it so much. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Make sure you like the video as well. Does help out the channel a lot. We have some updates for the channel in the coming weeks. We got a lot of exciting things going on for you guys. Because of you, this would not happen. So I appreciate everybody. You guys have a fantastic day. And remember, SHAKESQUAD up, follows up. Peace out, guys. Peace.